Welcome to our channel. Today, we invite you to join us on an intriguing journey to the heart of the Vatican. Get ready as we uncover the unknown facts about the nuns who reside behind the sacred walls. These are stories of devotion, mystery, and secrets that many are unaware of. Together, let's explore what lies in the shadows of religious history and discover the truth behind these extraordinary women. Imagine the tall and imposing walls of a convent, a place where silence is broken only by the chanting of scriptures or the tolling of the bell marking the rhythm of the hours. These are spaces where faith, discipline, and renunciation of the outside world seem untouchable. But what if, beyond the prayers and rituals, secrets were kept? What if, in the most devout of places, stories of intrigue, seduction, and mystery also emerged? Today, we will cross those sacred walls and learn the stories of women who lived, suffered, and transformed within these environments. Follow each detail, each hidden sigh, and each challenging decision, for it is these moments that will reveal to us the hidden side of religious life. The convent was perched on one of Rome's hills, where the nuns devoted themselves to prayer and penance. It was a place of peace, surrounded by ancient trees, with a garden where flowers bloomed in the spring, perfuming the air with their sweet and gentle aroma. But among the stones that formed the walls and the colorful stained glass windows, Maria Analise hid something that few people could imagine. Maria Analise was an extraordinary woman, tall, with a penetrating gaze and a serene voice. She had a charisma that seemed to attract people like a magnet. From a young age, she had always possessed a deep devotion and unshakable faith. Upon entering the convent, she quickly stood out among the other nuns, earning the admiration of all for her dedication to religious life. "Maria, you are truly an inspiration to all of us," said the Mother Superior as she watched Maria praying at the altar. She was one of the few people to whom the Mother trusted delicate matters, knowing that Maria would handle them wisely. Over time, Maria began to gain fame. Her ability to advise and comfort those in doubt or suffering became known to everyone. Even members of Roman high society came to the convent to hear her counsel, and Maria received them with humility. Her reputation reached the Pope, who called her for private meetings, where she acted as a spiritual advisor. With each meeting, Maria felt closer to God. But as her influence grew, something in her heart began to change. She began to realize the power she had over people, and slowly she succumbed to the temptation of shaping others according to her own worldview. Instead of advising with purity, Maria began to use her influence to control decisions, always believing she was acting for the greater good. One quiet night, sitting in her room with a candle lit beside her, Maria thought about how she could ensure that her guidance was strictly followed. It was then that she had an idea: to write messages as if they were directed directly from the divine. She called one of the novices, a young woman with impeccable handwriting, and asked her to write letters that she claimed were special revelations. Maria instructed that the messages be delivered to the clerics seeking counsel so that they would feel they were following a higher direction. At first, these letters were simple, containing words of faith and encouragement. But over time, Maria began using them to influence more important decisions. It was as if she had become a divine messenger, and this power gave her a sense of absolute control. The younger nuns, impressed by Maria's authority, followed her orders without question. Among them, some began to suspect, but respect and the fear of contradicting her kept them silent. "Who are we to question someone so close to God?" whispered a novice, while another nun nodded in agreement. However, rumors began to circulate within the convent walls and even on the streets of Rome. Some clerics, upon receiving the letters, sensed a fabrication, as if the words they read lacked a true divine touch. Doubts reached the Vatican, and, silently, an investigation was initiated. When church authorities confronted Maria, she remained firm, with a serene and impenetrable gaze, denying any malicious intent. "I only follow and believe I carry out the will of God," she responded calmly, her steady eyes conveying an almost unnerving confidence. Finally, the church decided to temporarily remove her while the case was reviewed. Maria, who was once seen as an icon of purity and devotion, now faced doubtful glances and whispers in the shadows of the convent. She spent her nights in prayer, but deep down, she knew that something had changed profoundly. Oxford, with its ancient towers and cobbled streets, housed a convent that symbolized tradition and religious vigor, little more. The convent was founded with the purpose of offering refuge and renunciation of the worldly life. Inside, the nuns dedicated every moment to prayer and contemplation. Among them was Joanna de Cattle UPE, a woman with an easy smile and a captivating personality. Joanna had a cheerful spirit, and for this reason, she was often chosen to receive visiting priests. One of them, Father Jonas, a man with a soft voice and kind eyes, became a frequent presence in the convent. Initially, his conversations with Joanna were about faith and spirituality, but soon the two discovered they shared personal affinities. Their conversations grew longer, and Joanna, who had always been obedient and reserved, began to feel alive in a way she had never experienced. Faith, Joanna, is not merely a path of restrictions. It is also the freedom to know the truth about ourselves, Father Jonas said in one of their conversations, while Joanna listened intently, reflecting on his words. As time went on, other nuns also began to grow closer to the visitors, inspired by Joanna's confidence. The Mother Superior, who watched everything with a keen eye, noticed that something was disturbing the peace in the convent. The closeness between the nuns and the priests became a matter of concern, as it challenged the strict rules of isolation that kept Littlemore a place of silence and meditation. The mother decided to intervene, calling Joanna for a conversation. Sitting in the modest meeting room, with the dim light of a lamp illuminating her face, the Mother Superior looked into Joanna's eyes. "My daughter, do you understand that our lives here require absolute dedication? We must avoid anything that could divert our hearts from serving God," she warned, trying to understand what was happening. Joanna, with her eyes lowered, felt a tightness in her chest. She knew that, deep down, she was allowing her emotions to lead her. But, at the same time, that bond made her feel alive, as if she were discovering something she had never known. Over time, the Mother Superior decided to conduct a more careful investigation. She spoke with other nuns, trying to understand the extent of Joanna and the others' involvement with the visitors. The revelation that several nuns maintained close ties with visiting priests brought a heavy burden to the mother, who felt compelled to take disciplinary measures. Joanna was instructed to remain in strict seclusion, a punishment that kept her away from any contact with the outside world. She accepted the decision with resignation, but in her heart, a small flame of rebellion and desire for freedom never completely went out. Tuscany, with its green hills and vineyards, hid in the heart of Volano, a convent famous for its spiritual rigor. It was there that Benedetta Carlini, a young woman of just 17 years, decided to enter and dedicate her life to the divine. From a young age, Benedetta felt called to something greater. Her devout parents saw in her choice a destiny that only the purest souls could reach. As soon as she entered the convent, Benedetta began to have mystical experiences, visions of sacred figures that, according to her, transmitted divine messages. The other nuns came to respect her even more, considering her a messenger from heaven. Benedetta recounted these visions with such richness of detail that the other sisters were in awe, eagerly awaiting her words. Her accounts became a kind of consolation for all who inhabited the convent, creating an atmosphere of profound respect and reverence around Benedetta. As time passed, the intensity of Benedetta's visions increased, leading her into a state of frequent trance. One night, while the other nuns were asleep, she confided in a novice named Vartolomea, sharing that her visions were becoming more intense. Vartolomea, deeply connected to Benedetta, listened attentively, becoming her confidant and assisting her during moments of trance. The two developed a strong bond, a link of mutual trust and faith. However, the Mother Superior, noticing the growing closeness between the two, decided to intervene. To ensure that Benedetta's spirituality did not stray, the Mother Superior requested the presence of a cleric to supervise her practices. During an interrogation, Benedetta elaborated on her experiences with an intensity that impressed the cleric. However, it was decided that she needed to distance herself and reflect alone on her visions. Benedetta's story, although surrounded by mystery and fervor, was also an example of the fine line between devotion and mysticism, something not always easy to control. Virginia Maria, also known as the Nun of Monza, was a young devotee who entered the convent of her city in her teenage years. Her traditional and influential family saw her entry into religious life as a way to ensure her a safe and peaceful life. Virginia, in turn, accepted this fate with resignation, dedicating herself wholeheartedly to the spiritual life and to the well-being of the young novices under her care. Years later, a new neighbor arrived in Monza, Count Giovanni Paolo Azio, a man with a striking presence and intense gaze. When their eyes met for the first time, both felt an inexplicable connection, a sort of curiosity that drew them to each other. Their initial interactions were casual, quick encounters in the garden or brief nods. But over time, their meetings ignited a mutual feeling, something that challenged conventions and placed Virginia in front of a dilemma she had never considered. Azio, for his part, became a constant presence in Virginia's life. He sent letters and small gifts, and soon, visits to the convent became frequent. The nuns closest to Virginia, noticing the bond between the two, helped to maintain discretion, shielding her from outside scrutiny. The friendship transformed into a deep bond, and Virginia found herself torn between her religious commitment and the overwhelming feelings growing within her. Time brought challenges and twists, and Virginia began to reflect on her vocation and the choices she had made. When she decided to distance herself from Azio to preserve her commitment to religious life, the experience transformed her profoundly, leading her to rediscover her faith and strengthen her role within the convent. Just like Virginia, many who choose a religious life face not only the temptations of the outside world, but also the internal dilemmas that faith and the heart can awaken. Amid vows of devotion, each choice and each renunciation become steps in a personal and profound journey, where the line between the sacred and the human becomes almost imperceptible. Thank you for watching Sacred Stories. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who also enjoy exploring the hidden side of religious life. See you in the next story, where we'll uncover more mysteries, decisions, and challenges that shape lives and destinies. Until then,